Look at your bank account. What you see there are not just numbers. It is not paper, it is not metal, and it is not pixels on a phone screen. What you see there is your printed lifespan. Every dollar you earn represents hours of your most precious asset, your existence, which was traded for a resource. If money is the materialization of your lifespan, then money is essentially a spiritual energy. But why does this energy seem to slip through most people's fingers? Why is it that no matter how much you earn, it feels like the bucket always has a hole in the bottom? Traditional economics tries to convince you that getting rich is a matter of mathematics. Just spend less than you earn. But if it were just math, no doctor would be in debt and no lottery winner would go bankrupt. If you make money and it disappears, your problem might not be mathematical. It is a spiritual and behavioral misalignment. Today, you will understand a hidden force that silently destroys fortunes. A psychological pattern that the elite knows about, but keeps you trapped in an eternal hamster wheel. In behavioral finance, we learn that money is a mirror. It reveals who you truly are. It doesn't change who you are. It merely amplifies what is already inside you. If you are generous and humble with a little, you will be much more generous and show even more humility with a lot. But if you are already stingy and proud with a little, the probability of these two negative traits being magnified with a lot is nearly 100%. If there is an internal void, a sense of inadequacy, or a desperate search for validation, money will be used as a numbing tool. You will use the material to try to heal the immaterial, the spiritual. And this is exactly where the trap snaps shut. When you buy something you don't need, with money you don't have, to impress people you don't even like, you are making a spiritual sacrifice. You are handing over pieces of your past and your future on the altar of others' approval. Depending on how you treat it, money becomes a harsh spiritual master. If you treat it with desperation, it runs away from you. If you treat it as your God, it enslaves you. True wealth begins when you understand that material accumulation without an internal purpose is just a golden cage. To understand how this slavery happens in practice, we need to go back to 18th century France. Meet Denis Diderot. He was one of the most brilliant philosophers of his time, co-founder of the famous encyclopedia. But despite his brilliant mind, Diderot was deeply poor. He lived on the edge. Everything changed when the Empress of Russia, Catherine the Great, heard about Diderot's financial difficulties. Being an admirer of his work, she bought his library for a fortune and even paid him to be the librarian. Overnight, Diderot was rich. Shortly after, Diderot received a gift that seemed harmless: a beautiful scarlet silk robe. The robe was magnificent, fit for a king. But that was where the curse began. Putting on that splendid robe in his simple study, Diderot looked around and felt a deep discomfort. His old wooden desk looked far too cheap for the robe. His chairs looked worn out. His walls empty. So, he replaced the desk with an expensive leather one. Then, he bought luxurious rugs from the East. Next, he exchanged his simple prints for expensive paintings. A trail of consumption triggered by a single piece of clothing. In the end, Diderot was in debt again. He himself wrote later, "I was the absolute master of my old robe. I became the slave of the new one." In modern psychology, this is dubbed the Diderot Effect. It is the behavioral bias where introducing a new possession into your life creates a spiral of forced consumption, pushing you to buy more and more things just to maintain the standard or aesthetic harmony. You buy a new car. Suddenly, the old garage looks ugly, and you spend money to remodel it. You buy a top-of-the-line smartphone. Now, you need the wireless earbuds from the same brand, the original case, and the wireless charger. The Diderot Effect works because we unconsciously seek identity coherence. The problem is that the market knows this. The system is designed to make you feel inadequate with what you have today. It creates a spiritual need for belonging and sells you the solution in credit card installments. When you fall into this spiral, your salary can double, triple, or multiply by 10. The Diderot Effect will ensure that your expenses keep up with your earnings. You become a slave to your own silk robe because you lack a clear life purpose that money would help you fulfill. There are many who claim that God doesn't give money to anyone. He sponsors purposes. How then do we heal this dynamic? How do you protect the spiritual energy of your money? The answer lies in behavioral intentionality. First, learn to separate who you are from what you have. Your identity does not need to be validated by a brand or by a lifestyle you can barely sustain. Second, when you break the barrier and buy something new, force yourself to stop. Recognize the urge of the Diderot Effect when it arises. Tell yourself, I control the object does not control me. Money is freedom. It is the ability to say no to a job you hate. It is the peace of mind that comes from knowing your family is safe in an emergency. It is the free time to focus on what truly matters to your soul. Do not trade your spiritual freedom for a modern silk robe. If this video made sense for your journey, don't keep this knowledge to yourself. Share it with the people you love. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel to align your mind and your finances, and comment below. I am the master of my robe. Until the next code.